Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and I think we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Missy Hicks. I am the co-founder of Wonders and Worries and the director of the Registered Wonders and Worries Provider Program. And I would like to welcome you to our March WonderChat. I want to also thank you for your understanding and your patience last month when we needed to reschedule this one. Who knew, right? Weather like that in Texas. So I appreciate your understanding of that. And I am grateful to our speakers for today that they could take this content and shift it to this month's WonderChat. So I appreciate that. So we are going to be talking about setting up your program for success today. And I'm excited for you to hear from these two amazing speakers about how to build a program, how to network with and expand your program. So I will be excited to have you hear all that. Let's go ahead and just cover some housekeeping quickly so you can get to our presenters. If you've been on these before, you know that we do not use the chat feature. We use the question and answer feature. So if there is a question you have, go ahead and put it in the Q&A feature box. You probably see it at the bottom of your screen. I'll be monitoring those, and I may throw those in the middle of the presentation, or we may save those for the end. So I would just know that I'll be moderating that for you. I am going to put a poll up. Full disclosure, first time we're using the polls this way, but I'm putting a poll so that our speakers can know a little bit about you and your background. So if you're seeing this, go ahead and let us know what setting you're in. Are you in a hospital? Are you a private practice, nonprofit? I see them coming. That's awesome. So go ahead and continue to fill out that while I'm finishing up these housekeeping items. The recorded webinar from today will be put on our website, probably early next week to mid. So if you want to take a look at it again, or you have someone else who'd want to see it, you can certainly go there. If you want to flip to the next slide for me, Shani, please. An evaluation will pop up at the end of the webinar as you close out. So we would appreciate that feedback. As I've said before, I read them all. We listen to it. We use that as we move forward. So we really appreciate any feedback you can give us. And as far as the PDU process, anyone is welcome to listen to these at any time for just their own professional growth at no charge. If you happen to need PDUs and would like to purchase the post-assessment, you can do that. It's just a nominal fee of $10 to buy the post-assessment. You take that quiz, and then we issue you your PDU certificate after that. And you can find those post-assessments on our website as well. Go ahead, we can move forward. So I would like to welcome our speakers today. They are going to give you a little more background, a deeper background into their histories, their employment, and those sorts of things themselves. But Jordan Rue is an outreach manager at Wonders and Worries, and we're thrilled to have you, Jordan. Thank you for being here today. And Shani Thornton is a registered Wonders and Worries provider, but her primary role is as Child Life Mommy, as many of you know. So they will talk to you a little bit more about their background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quick share this polling with them so they can see. Here are the results. Can y'all see those? Okay.
Okay, so should I go ahead?
Yes, and I'm going to turn it over to Jordan and Shani.
So my name is Jordan Rue. I'm the outreach manager at Wonders and Worries. I started out my career as a certified child life specialist. My first position was at McLean Children's Hospital at Baylor Scott and White in Temple, Texas. I spent about 2 years there working primarily in the emergency department. And then I moved to Austin, Texas, and worked at Dell Children's Medical Center for 4.5 years. And I spent that entire time on a post-surgical and trauma inpatient unit. I've been with Wonders and Worries for the past 1.5 years, and I'm in the outreach role. So now I'm out in the community meeting with medical professionals, school professionals, other companies that could possibly refer families, and just spreading awareness, educating the community on our child life services, and helping build the referral base.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shani Thornton. I am also a certified child life specialist about 14 years now. I started my journey inpatient in an inpatient rehab unit in New York City. And I eventually kind of made my way community-based and just a really organic way. I did not think I would go that route, but it's kind of where life took me. I became a mom and ended up staying home with my kids and continued to do child life stuff as like a bereavement facilitator for a local children's hospital. I created Child Life Mommy, which is essentially just a website and a blog that, funny enough, was created 8.5 years ago. I still can't even believe it. And it was just a platform to just bring awareness to the field of child life and to blend both parenting and child life together. That kind of opened up other doors, and I eventually started doing some community workshops and community fairs, and then started a private practice. So I did that in the New York area, and I have now relocated back to my hometown in a tiny little rural community called Loomis in California. And I relaunched it here about a year to 18 months after I got just adjusted to here. So I primarily see children within their homes. I do home-based child life services as well as telehealth. I work a lot in grief. I do a lot of support for children of adult patients. And I do a lot of workshops within the community, and a lot of it's virtual, obviously, with COVID. I'm also a registered Wonders and Worries provider, and I also have been working with the Standish Foundation for Children, which is a nonprofit based out of Austin, Texas. I was their social media and marketing manager for the last 3 years. I just resigned and passed that baton to a really amazing new team member, and I can take more energy and put it into my practice. So we are excited to get started. So the first thing when we think about our programs and our services, we want to make sure that it's really clear that this is transferable. So we're going to be speaking to both inpatient, or I'm sorry, in hospital. So if you're looking to grow and expand your service, whether with children of adult patients or connecting with like a satellite program connected to your hospital, as well as community-based. And really you have to start with your mission. Like, what is your foundation of your service and your program? Like, what are you going to be offering? And it's kind of like our elevator speech, right? With child life and what we say. It's got to be concise. It's got to be pretty thorough, just kind of putting information there of what you're going to be servicing and what your population and really what your mission is. You also want to make sure that's kind of aligned with your ethical and professional boundaries as a child life specialist. There are many child life specialists who are interested in community-based, which I think is incredibly exciting, and it's really fun to be kind of part of that adventure moving into community-based roles. There is a position statement created from the ACLP that is really specific to child specialists working within the community. It gives guidelines and recommendations of what your education background should be in, your skill set, like how many hours or years you should be working within a structured setting as a CCLS, as well as populations that you serve. And it's a really great resource that I use often when I'm networking and I'm collaborating with other organizations, that I kind of have this backup of like, yes, child life specialists work in the hospital. We also work in the community base, and the ACLP recognizes that, and here's some more information on that. There is also a position statement that was recently put out from the ACLP for working with children of adult patients. So again, this actually goes for both sides. You can use it with community-based as well as hospital-based. If you're looking to expand your program specifically for children of adult patients, reference that position statement and be able to bring that to the attention of others. I also use American Academy of Pediatrics and their statement on child life services. It's another, kind of that evidence and that background of like, we really are supported and the service that we provide is invaluable. So once others see that, they kind of there's more recognition to just me saying like, no, I'm a child life specialist, this is what I do. To kind of just, it gives that extra validation, right? So here are 3 statements of mission statements from Wonders and Worries, for my Child Life Mommy, as well as Standish Foundation. And again, it aligns with what we are really looking to define ourselves within the mission.
So with the mission statements, you really, like she mentioned, want to be very concise. and try and keep it to one sentence. I've even heard people say 8 words. You want to be able to just say it and have that one sentence that you can use over and over and over again. In my emails, I use that same language. Wonders and Worries supports children and teenagers during a parent's serious illness, or that ensures children and teenagers can thrive or reach their full potential. So you can have a couple different ways of phrasing it, but try to have a lot of consistent terminology that you use, and have that on your website, have that on your social media platforms. When you're talking about your organization, make sure to use those words and really push that out there. And then when you're thinking about your mission, think about the community you're in and what are the needs in the area? What are the gaps in service? Wonders and Worries got started because there wasn't a system in place in the adult hospital settings for children to receive child life support when their parent had a serious illness. There is no competition in this area for that type of organization. We're the only ones that provide that. So different if you're starting a new practice or starting a nonprofit or anything like that, just do some research in your area, see what other organizations are out there, and really see where there's gaps and how you can maybe fill those gaps. And what population are you going to serve? What are the ages you're going to serve? What are the diagnoses you're going to focus on? And how, if you're driving to and from places to visit with families in their homes, what's the radius? How far are you willing to travel? Really break that down and come up with those guidelines so that you can be really specific and consistent with the community as you're introducing the services. And as you're also thinking about all that, think about what you're good at and what you really want to focus on, what your strengths are, and then how that can meet those gaps in service. And then also get in touch with different organizations too. Maybe there's other nonprofits in the area. So Wonders and Worries will partner with organizations that are like a mentorship program for adult patients. And if adults need support and a mentor, we'll refer to them. After the loss has already happened, there's several grief organizations in the area. So we'll partner with those grief organizations after a loss has occurred. Wonders and Worries is the only organization that provides support and coping throughout the illness. So we don't have to compete with each other, and we can all work together, and then you get more involved and kind of embedded in the community, and you just are more established when you are collaborating, working together with other organizations and providing different types of support. And then again, just keeping those clear boundaries is hard when you want to help everybody, but there are times at Wonders and Worries where we turn down referrals. If it's a trauma that came in and they're in a critical care unit, it's a quick decline, it looks like end of life is approaching within the next few days, that doesn't align with our program, which is a 6-week curriculum, which is meant to help kids cope throughout a parent's illness over a period of time. So sometimes we might suggest other organizations, but that just really keeps it clear in the community, and it can avoid any confusion and possible frustration from referring professionals if there's a lot of blurred lines and, well, you refer this, you're able to support this family, why not this family? It's the same thing. So really being consistent is going to help make it easier for you and as well as the community that's making the referrals.
Okay, so with any organization, whether you're in a hospital, your community-based, your nonprofit, private practice, there's a business model. And there is the side of that we all have to think about, which has to do with the budget, right? In order to do these amazing services, there has to be some money in order to get it involved and get it going. We know that child life is not a billable service. We are free within the hospital, which is great. You can have families come in who don't have insurance. If child life service is available, then they can use them. However, in the private practice side of it and community-based, it's a little bit different because there's a lot of specialists who want to be able to bill insurance companies, but because we're not licensed and we don't have a bill code, it gets a little complicated. That is a whole other topic. There's a lot of conversations going on right now currently and have been going on for the last couple of years. But there's also a recent, ACLP had a recent bulletin on a point counterpoint on licensure. So if you're looking into more of that, I would definitely have you suggest you to read more up on that. But when it comes to budget, we know that hospital-based is primarily a little bit of the hospital, grants and donations. Community is obviously, sometimes it starts with your own personal budget, as well as possibly getting some donations and even grants. I have recently teamed up with a preschool educator, and we were able to apply for a mini grant, and we got accepted. So we are able to provide some services to our community. We have a $20,000 grant. It's the first time this has ever happened for me within private practice. And it's really exciting. It's exciting knowing that we have a little bit of funding to be able to provide. For nonprofits as well, it's all about fundraising and applying for those grants and donations. So once you have, an idea of what your budget's going to be, you have to consider the things that are going to cost some money. So marketing materials is definitely one. We know that printed materials such as brochures, business cards, banners, that's going to be costly, as well as, online platforms. So whether you're going to, purchase something on a website, you have to, get a logo made from a graphic artist. Those are also costly. Travel, something to consider. Even when you're going out into the community to network, you got to consider the price of that. If you're going to purchase coffee for somebody that you're meeting to try to network with, if you're seeing families within their homes or providing workshops, the wear and tear of your vehicle, as well as gas and mileage, starts to add up. I have to be really aware of that with my own vehicle. I've noticed it's going up and up and up. As I'm getting more referrals is great, but there's more of a cost to my vehicle too, and trying to figure out the budget for that. Space and rent. If you're in a hospital, how amazing that you probably have some sort of space available, whether it's a community space, a playroom. That's great because then you can have access to it. If you're community based, you might be able to do something in more of an open space like a park. You might be able to team up with like a library, a church, different organizations where they can offer you a space at either no cost or at a very low cost. Or if you're looking to, expand and have your organization in a space, then you have to think of the cost of rent and utilities for that. Supplies, we know that the things that we use, toys, games, arts and craft materials, paper, printed materials that you're going to hand out to people, those all have a cost to them. I think that a great way to gather supplies is reaching out to friends, family, and different people within your community, such as like going to your Facebook groups and posting on like a marketplace, or just like within your own personal Facebook pages and finding out, hey, I'm starting this, or this is the organization I'm connected to. We really need like gently used games, toys, arts, and supplies. And you'll be surprised, but what people do is they really do, they clean out their kids' closets, and they have a lot of supplies that they can donate, which is wonderful. I've gathered a lot from my own children once they're done playing with it, or if they've had like double of birthday gifts or Christmas gifts, I kind of just take on stuff that way. The other thing to consider, so for private practice, you have to have liability insurance. Ethically, professionally, you need to protect yourself. So there's a cost to that. There's also a cost to making sure that your documentation and your telehealth support is through a HIPAA compliant platform. So there's a cost to that, as well as supervision. This is really important for child life specialists to make sure that they're getting that reflective type of supervision. So there might be a lower cost to that, or depending on what you're able to afford, work that out with supervision. But those are definitely things to consider. So now that you have your mission, you've got your budgeting, you're going to build your brand. And the first thing people are going to do is they're going to Google you. That's where everyone does. We go to the websites. We want to find out more about this service that you're providing. So you need to have a website, and you need to make it user-friendly. It's got to be very clear as to what your mission is, how to get in contact with you, what are the services that you provide, and then you can obviously add additional information on, drop-down menus of blog posts or resources or things like that. But your landing page should be very, very clear and easy for anybody to navigate. There's great websites to build upon. I have personally been using WordPress for a long time, both for Child Life Mommy as well as for Standish Foundation. So I've kind of gotten used to that one, but there are a lot of others such as Wix, web.com, I believe, also Squarespace. And you can get some of these platforms that are pretty easy to build upon. And then if you need to upgrade, you can. So there might be a cost to that. But they also have, the tech support, which I think is great. I'm constantly, chatting in the text box to get support on some of these platforms. Your marketing materials can also be created on some great platforms. Canva, I think, is like the one that everybody is using right now. It's really user-friendly, and you can create some amazing stuff, both like brochures, business cards, as well as social media. And Adobe Spark is another one, and PicMonkey is one that I was using for a very long time. I've been able to create some amazing stuff, both for Standish Foundation as well as for Child Life Mommy on those platforms. And again, there's really no cost. You can do just the basic free platform and then upgrade if you need to, if you feel like you need to. If you're in the hospital, you kind of have a little bit of an advantage because you probably have a marketing team, or even if you work with a nonprofit, there might be a marketing team that you can go to help you really expand your brand and get it out there. They want to know about these awesome stories and the services that we're providing. They are also marketing for a business. A hospital is a business, so they want to share what they're doing and get it out into the community. So teaming up with them is a great advantage for you to kind of get your information out there. Also, same with their foundation, if you have a foundation connected to your hospital. Community-based, a lot of it could be independently, just your trial and error of getting out there and trying to figure this stuff out, as well as reaching out to friends and family, or even possibly hiring a graphic artist. I've also worked with students. I recently had UGA students create some amazing stuff for me, both blog posts and activities, but the biggest thing they created for me was this resource guide on grief and loss and how it supports caregivers, to give them really concrete information. And it's something that I've been wanting to do for years, but I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time. And they were able to do it for me. And so I think that reaching out to students can also be a great advantage. And then they have something as well to put in their own portfolio to show what they have created. So it really is a win-win for both sides. Nonprofits, there's an amazing organization called Catch a Fire. It is a nonprofit itself. And what they do is they have professionals who are volunteers that put in their time to create projects for other nonprofits. So for instance, the Standish Foundation, we've used them for probably the last year, and they have created everything from infographics for us to newsletters for a call to action, social media posts. They can help us with websites. There's a variety of different projects. So if you're connected with a nonprofit or you're looking to build a nonprofit, I would take full advantage of their services.
So at Wonders and Worries, we have a marketing team, and they're usually University of Texas students in the marketing program. So, and we want to get different students each year, and they work part-time. We also do contract work with a graphic designer. But like Shani said, students are itching for experience. They're itching to build a portfolio, put things on their resume. So if you've got a local college, just reach out to those departments, the marketing department, the art and design department, specifically for graphic design students, because they're going to be wanting to help. And that can be either free service or low cost. And again, it's a win-win for them. When you're thinking about your brand, Wonders and Worries, we have the same font that we use, and we also have that light blue and orange color scheme. So if we make a new document or a new resource page, we'll have the graphic designer do it, because she's got a consistent style and she has that consistent blue and orange and the font. So if I held up a page that we made, like without even reading anything, you would know it was a Wonders and Worries resource page. So really think about that. Think about maybe like a couple colors, or just like a color scheme that you want to stick with, and just be consistent with that on your website, on your social media pages, on your brochures, your documents, your business cards, anything you share. So that way it can become familiar and people can just recognize immediately who you are. And then I have a little example of hospital-based, again, working with the foundation. So we were pretty close with the foundation at Dell Children's. They were always asking us, do you have any families? We need pictures, we need stories, we need videos. Sometimes they're pretty specific on what they want or what they're looking for. But it can be stressful as a child life specialist when you're really busy and running around. You're like, I don't have time to find that. But it really does, if you find a family, always keep it in the back of your mind. This family is so appreciative, so grateful. They're here all the time. I wonder if they'd be interested in sharing their story, and then making that connection. And this family, the foundation wasn't looking for anything in particular, but my director was like, oh, they would probably be a good family for the foundation. And it turns out they did this whole story about her medical play bear, and she just loved it so much. She even did a photo shoot with it. You can see in the bottom right corner, and she brought it with her during every single admission. And she would add to it, or pull out the distractors, or add the IV, whatever she was having at the hospital, she'd add it. So it was a big part of her medical journey. And so they did a story on it, and it got posted on the website, on social media, and then that brought in donations for a bunch of teddy bears. So using the foundation as a way to spread awareness, not even just within the community, but just other medical professionals that you're working with. Again, there's a lot of education with new nurses or just teams not really fully understanding exactly what we do. So I was able to put a little blurb in there about medical play, and it just kind of helps build up the child life awareness within the hospital as well as the community as a whole. And the more you build that up, maybe you get more funding for positions. So yeah, utilize those tools you have within the hospital.
So marketing is our next kind of step. Social media is free marketing. And I feel like at this day and age, we're all on social media. And it's really easy to share great resources and information and get yourself out there. When you're thinking about it for your program, you definitely want to have a difference between your business page as well as a personal page. I think it's fine to have personal page, but I also think if you're going to stick with a program and a service, you should have it very clear on the business side, and stick again with your mission. There are some really popular social media platforms that are all free and easy to access. Facebook, Instagram are probably the big ones right now, LinkedIn and Twitter. And you're able to really kind of connect a lot of those together. So you don't have to feel that pressure of having, instant information out there, because you can put something on one and connect it to a lot of others. Having a subscription list on a website is really great. That's an easy way to gain those email subscriptions and then blast things out. So if you have like a call to action, if you're looking to expand something, if you have a highlighted story, if you're looking to get donations, you can put that out there on your website, or you can also attach it to like a MailChimp and put it out there. We know that images, videos, those are what draw people in. I've been doing the social media stuff for Child Life Mommy for a really long time, and my stuff is really organic. I don't pay for, boosts. I don't do any of that. I just kind of get content out there. But the ones that are definitely more engaging are the ones that are relatable, whether it's like a picture of something a child has created, or a testimonial, or something about self-care. And trying to engage your followers will be able to start a conversation, and you'll be able to bring in some more. And sometimes it develops into something. I've had a lot of success with meeting other colleagues or other entrepreneurs who have created some awesome stuff, and I, build this relationship with them professionally to use the platform of Child Life Mommy to get information out there, because I really just want to spread it. I'm not gaining anything from it. I don't have anything on my website where there's Google ads or things like that where I'm getting a profit. It's all free. I'm not making any money off of it at all. I just want to be able to use that platform to share resources. But what it does is you gain this relationship, and it helps with that networking side, and it helps to kind of open up the doors for different things. Great ways to use social media too is making sure that you're tagging people, that you're sharing things directly to them. So I kind of have a few different people that I will be able to send a direct message to of like, hey, can you share this on your page as well? And it's vice versa. They'll send things to me and I'm constantly sharing it out. So it's a really mutual type of partnership that we have. So again, instead of trying to feel like, I have to get information out there right now, and you're constantly getting sucked into social media, because there's also this balance that we have to have, because we can go down the rabbit holes, and before you know it, we've been looking at our phone for well over an hour. So you have to put some parameters that make it healthy, but you're also still doing the work side of it. And I use publishing platforms such as like Later, Hootsuite's another one, or even scheduling it on like something like Facebook, and you can schedule it for Facebook and Instagram to blast information so that it's later on. It's almost building like your content calendar ahead of time.
So Wonders and Worries has a marketing team that utilizes what she just said, a content calendar. So they'll kind of plan out their posts. They'll have a document of like this month, this day, this time, for all of the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and they might be different things for each platform depending on the audience that is typically on those different platforms. So think about, the future. Are there events coming up? Are there things that you're partnering with other organizations that you want to share? How many posts do you want to have each week? And maybe that might differ. When the pandemic first started and we shifted into virtual sessions and everybody was very overwhelmed and stressed, we started doing daily social media posts, and we were sharing different activity ideas, different coping ideas, sharing pictures of our virtual sessions to really push that we're still providing support through telehealth. So we're not doing daily Facebook posts right now, but it might change depending on what's going on at the time. And then again, scheduling a time. When's the best time to post? When do you get the most action? Maybe it's around 7:30 at night. Maybe it's at noon, at lunchtime. And then maybe track, see what is getting the most traffic, the different pages you're on. Do you have the most followers on Instagram? Do you have the most followers on Facebook? And then maybe gear your time towards the platforms that you're getting the most action on. And then track the photos you're posting, the videos. Our marketing team identified, probably no surprise, that the videos and the pictures get the most views. So utilize those tools. You know that's going to grab people's attention. Start sharing more pictures, more videos. For Wonders and Worries, we had, with these virtual sessions, with the consent, we're able to just get a screenshot. So we've gotten so much material to share. During our gala, we asked client families, if they were willing to share their own personal story or even have their kids speak and share about what they've learned. So really utilize those, what's working, and keep track of it, and then build from that so that you can grow and really utilize your time most effectively for what people are looking for and what they respond most to.
So that goes right into networking. So we have an amazing skill set as child life specialists, right? We know how to communicate, we know how to advocate, and we know how to change the way we talk to different developments, right? The way we explain something to a toddler is very different than school age. It's the same stuff with networking and getting your information out to others. Anytime you can get a face-to-face meeting, it is like gold. Anytime I can get in front of a group of people that already gathered together and share what child life specialists do, what my services are, it's huge. It always connects me to something else. And getting up there with, community events, if there's a community fair that you can attend, and it's something that kind of goes along with your service, or your service can complement it. It's another great way to network. I think it was on Facebook. There was a Facebook group within my own town, my community, that there was a couple of people who posted things that they do, and I just reached out to them individually. And I met them for coffee, and we started with, it was just like one other gal. And then the next month there was like 3 of us. And then we would meet every 4 to 6 weeks. And our group was these mom entrepreneurs. They all had something similar, a similar passion, something similar that they were doing. And every time we would get together, we'd invite more people, and we would just have this opportunity to share who we are, what service we're doing, if there's a special event coming up, or there's something that we want to do, but we need some help on. We had this amazing women supportive group where they would give us ideas. They would say oh, you should connect with so-and-so at this church, or, oh, I know this preschool. And what it would do is, it wouldn't just here's a name, something to do. They would take it a step further, and they would email and do an e-introduction. So the e-introduction me to another colleague of theirs. And it was another way for me to get into face-to-face, or even a virtual or a phone call, something to connect with another organization. That's really how my private practice here in this town has expanded, is by doing this networking. Obviously with COVID, things have kind of shifted. I've done a lot of virtual calls, and also phone calls and emails. Those can be a little tough. I feel like I've done some cold calls, and it really depends on who you can get, what time of day it is, and if it's the right person, right? Sometimes I've made phone calls and I just hung up, and I was like, that got nowhere. But then I just try again. There was one particular hospice agency that I tried emailing, I tried cold calling, and it was I would wait a couple months and I would try again. And eventually I got this person, and he took on this new role, and he was like, this is great. Can you come in for a meeting? And it worked out. So now I contract with them. So I didn't give up on this hospice agency. I kept going and did some follow-ups. And again, on, anytime you can get an introduction, and also do the same thing for another. So sometimes I'll get phone calls, or people will introduce me to somebody, and I'm like, it doesn't really match up with Child Life Mommy, or it doesn't really match up with Standish Foundation. However, I do know a couple of other organizations that might be really great for them. And so I constantly spend time on doing e-introductions, or giving them information on another organization where they can feel more of a compliment. And it's just a really nice thing to do back and forth. And I feel like the more good you're putting out, then the more good's going to come back to you in return. And it does.
So face-to-face meetings really should always be the end goal in your head, whether you're sending out an email, making a phone call. Gear your conversation to get to the right person and figure out a way to get a face-to-face meeting or a presentation. And really starting your network with the people you already know and that you're close with. You already have a social circle with your church, your neighborhood, your family, your friends, the gym you go to. During the pandemic, outreach has been a little more difficult as there's not as many events and things going on. But I've met so many people through the gym I go to. I met a pharmacist who works at Texas Neuro Rehab. So I got connected in an e-introduction, and I was able to do a presentation there. There's a physical therapist that works at Ascension in the rehab unit, which is a major hospital here. There was a previous client of Wonders and Worries from years ago before I started there, and she's kind of runs the events of a local mom group that has a very huge following. Another friend of mine that works in HR, and so I got connected to several different benefits brokers who do benefits for several companies throughout Texas. So really utilize those connections because they know you, they care about you, they care about what you're doing, and they're contacting people that they already know and trust. So that's a great way to start building your network. And then anytime you make a connection with someone, I always connect with them on LinkedIn, because you never know down the road if you're trying to get in touch with a new organization but you're not able to get a hold of somebody. Check LinkedIn, check the people, and see if you have any common connections. That's worked multiple times for me. I've called multiple times, I've sent emails, I never heard back, and then I see a common connection we have on LinkedIn, I email that person, hey, can you offer an introduction? I can't get a hold of them, but we want to build a relationship. And then within 24 hours, I have a phone call set up. So I really utilize LinkedIn a lot. And you can also, if you're doing some cold calling, go to their page on LinkedIn and look at the people, and then find where they, like the community relations person or the owner, or who do you want to talk to, the social worker, and then find their name. And then when you call that organization, say, hey, can I please speak to so-and-so in this department? And then a lot of times you'll just get directed right to the correct person. Sometimes if you start trying to explain everything to that initial person, they might get lost or say, oh no, and then you've lost them. And then so if you can get to the right person as quickly as possible, then you can make your pitch. And then also still try and keep it short and concise, and try and get that meeting or presentation set up. In the community, there's lots of events that can go on outside of a pandemic. There's also virtual events right now. So doing some research online, especially during the virtual events, those are usually a much cheaper rate as well. So, and there's some very cool platforms that are going on with Q&As, and sometimes the events are just on there for several days. So just research events in your area, see what the costs are, kind of weigh out the pros and cons. Who's the audience? How big is the audience? Is this going to be worth that price or not? And kind of set a budget for what you would be willing to spend for these types of events. And then during the events, have a goal to exchange contact information with 3 people. Just start with that. And if it's an in-person event, instead of just being behind your booth and sharing information, if there's a wall, I'll keep an eye out for the other organizations that have tables, and I'll go meet and introduce myself to them. Also, it's like someone that's involved with a cancer support organization. I'm going to immediately beeline over there and say, hey, I'm Jordan, introduce ourselves, exchange business cards, and then I'll send a follow-up email asking for a presentation or a meeting. There's also chambers in your area. So when Wonders and Worries opened an office in Georgetown, Texas, we became a part of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce. That's a great way to network. So see what chambers are in your area. There's might also be some various community chambers. So one of the places I wanted to get in touch with that I used that LinkedIn connection was the Greater Austin Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So see what chambers are around. There is a cost usually, but they have different levels typically. And then even with the events, I mean, with these fees, there's sometimes a way to go around it. For events, maybe you could ask about being a presenter or a speaker, and then the event is free for you and you get in front of everybody attending the event. If it's really close, ask about next year. Do you have a speaker lined up for next year? How can I be a part of that? Or maybe offering an in-kind donation in exchange to be a part of an event or being on the chamber. For Wonders and Worries, our services are free, so we've used that. Giving a number, this amount of money supports one family for a whole year, and that's kind of been used as the in-kind. Or we invite someone to our gala for free in order to be a part of that chamber. So there's different things you can do like that. And yes, just being consistent, like Shani said, you might not always get a response right away, but I usually wait like about 10 days before I send another email or try to call again. I have a list of people and the date I contacted them, and then after 10 days or so, I'll reach out to them again. And I usually try at least 3 attempts, and then if not, I might try to reach out to somebody else. So just consistency and just, again, talking to everyone in your community, because you never know who they're connected with.
Yes, I was also going to add too is, your follow-up emails or even like a written thank you card. I always thank somebody for their time that they took out to meet with me. And Jordan, you put up a great point of, connecting with other organizations. I recently got involved with a Sacramento chapter for the California Play Therapy Association. So the majority of them are play therapists, but there's a lot of them that are just MFTs or social workers. And I'm now I'm one of their officers. So it's great for me to be a child life specialist involved with them. So they're like, oh, you work with kids, children of adult patients, or you work with illness and grief. This is great. So now I know that there's another resource that I can send. So again, it's just getting yourself out there. With that, we already know that you need to change your verbiage, right? And in order to do that, you need to know your audience. You have to know who you're speaking to and what their organization is. So do your research. I always check on the website. I'll look up on LinkedIn. I will do as much research as I can to find out who this person is or this organization and see if their mission kind of aligns with mine. And are there ways where our services can collaborate? So your verbiage is going to change. The way I talk to a preschool age, parent group is very different than the way I'm going to talk to a team of a hospice agency or medical professionals. It's just very different. And it's the same within the hospital, right? We know that developmentally, when we talk to kids, we have to change the way we're saying. It's all the same information. It's just different words. And it's the same thing if you just relating your information to these different organizations in a way that they're going to understand. You got to shine with your stories. That's huge. We have a lot of props that we use in child life. We have our toys and our teaching dolls and our medical play stuff and things that kids have created. Anytime I can get in front of a group of people, I bring all of my child life stuff, carried in with me, and then I share a story with them that is empowering, or it pulls at their heartstrings. It lets them know, oh my God, I had no idea that this is the type of work you do. And I'm like, yes, this is our profession. These are the things we do. And we know that we're helping families during the most pivotal time in their lives. I had an opportunity to speak in front of a group of people, and they're more of marketing. They also were for senior citizens, right? So this is a team of people who are with assisted living facilities, hospice agencies, nursing, different types of organizations that are helping to serve seniors. And I go to this group and they're in the beginning, I'm networking with them before there's a presenter, and they're like, we don't work with children. And I'm like, no, you don't. I know you don't. But you work with adults who either have children or the grandparents or the great-grandparents, right? On how we're going, people are living a long time now. They all have these children that this stuff is impacting them on. And this is a service that I can provide. I had an opportunity to then get in front of them and speak to them and tell them a story about working with a family during end of life treatment and how I supported those kids on saying goodbye to their parents and creating memory making. And I mean, the whole group was just crying, and I knew emotionally I got to them. And then afterwards, they're I had no idea. Thank you so much for this information. We'll gladly be able to share your resource to other families. So that stuff is definitely impactful. Numbers as well. So for Spanish Foundation, we show others and possible donors and other organizations what our impact is by the numbers. They need to see that statistic. So creating something really simple. This was an infographic that I made on Canva. We're able to share that on newsletters and to our donors. And as soon as you put it out there, people are like, wow, just donating $25, I had no idea it can actually make an impact like this. So that definitely helps.
Yes, just piggybacking off, stories are huge, and that's a way to quickly hook your audience. Lately for my presentations, with virtual presentations, it's just easy to kind of check out a little bit. So I'll have the title page on and they'll say, I'm just going to start with a story. And we have client stories we do a video every year of a new family, and it's about 5 minutes long, and the family gets to talk about their experience. And then that just really like engages the audience. Another way to engage, sometimes they say, who knows somebody who has some kind of serious illness? Raise their hand. Who has kids? It's like, this is everywhere. This is a need that everybody will probably know somebody who could benefit from this. Ask questions to the audience, keep them engaged throughout. Has anyone heard of a child life specialist before? Have you heard of Wonders and Worries before? What do you know about it? I've had someone say, oh, I worked with a child life specialist when my kid had stitches in the ER. They were amazing. And then people are like, oh, wow, you had an experience with one, and it kind of just keeps them engaged. And then when you're thinking about who you're talking to, alter, maybe even just the information you're giving. If I'm talking to a group of social workers or school counselors, I might not go as in depth with all the child development, because you're gonna be like, yeah, I know this already. But they'll also understand, they'll speak that psychosocial language. With the doctors, very short, very concise, to the point. They are like boom, boom, boom. And sometimes you have to talk really quick. But those are usually like 20-minute meetings for me, because they just are so busy. And then with doctors, I'll incorporate our research, data, numbers, statistics. So if you don't have that for your own organization yet, look on the ACLP, find statistics or numbers for just child life support and how it impacts children, because that's going to speak really loudly to doctors. And they'll say, well, we need this type of support in our facility. So think about the audience and who you're talking to and what's going to engage them. And then what's in it for me? So why should they refer to you? What are they getting out of it? It's going to take them time to make these referrals and connect the families that are going to benefit, your organization and your mission. What is going back to them? So really think about that, and it's going to be different for each organization you're working with. So think of a strategy. We kind of like break it down as like cancer treatment centers, hospitals, pediatric facilities, freestanding clinics and outpatient clinics, and then kind of prioritize. Our biggest priority right now is probably cancer treatment, because that age of adults typically have kids between the ages of 2 to 18. And then next is hospital settings. So, and then what is your goal with that specific organization that you're presenting to? You want to increase the referrals? Do they have a weekly newsletter that you want to get on and share information about your organization? Is your goal to present to various different departments within this one hospital? And then think about the assets you have to offer for those individual settings. Is it a clinic that doesn't have a chaplain and a social worker or a child life specialist or any sort of psychosocial support team? Bring that up. I can provide that, or we can provide that service. If you're in a big hospital, what sort of recognitions are they looking for? Patient satisfaction scores are huge, so you can bring that up. This is going to help with patient satisfaction. There's magnet status for nurses. This can be used to go for a magnet status if you want that recognition. Does your hospital do SMART goals? Is there a goal to increase the patient satisfaction scores, to take a more holistic approach to care? This is a way you can include that, because now you're thinking about the kids of your patients, and that's going to look really good and increase those scores. And then come up with your ask. What do you need from them? How can we be embedded into your system? How can we increase referrals? Who's the best person to make the referral? Is there someone you think I should meet with within your organization? Are there departments you think I should present to? And really, figure out those goals, figure out what you need from them, how you can help them, and then come up with the next steps of what you each do. Same if you're in the hospital. If you're trying to grow and build the referrals, who can you talk to in your department? Who's someone that you can be like a big supporter of child life support? Maybe there's a systems issue, and you should work with whoever you need to work within the hospital to reach that goal of getting more referrals. Then communication is key. We just use your child life skills with the adults. We're all really just big kids. We all love to be acknowledged, be reinforced, be validated. So use those skills and build trust. If they're people you're already working with or new contacts, just consistently maintain that trust. Be really proactive. So reach out to them consistently. Be consistent with your language. Be consistent with your mission. And to build that trust, really define, if you're building a new relationship, define the child life profession. There's still a lot of misunderstanding about what exactly we do. Give your background, your education, the experience you've had, the places you've worked, how long you've worked there. It just makes you more reputable as someone that they can trust and refer their families to. And then keep setting those face-to-face meetings. If they know you as a person, that's going to help build trust. Be positive and passionate. Really let your passion shine through for what you do. It shows that you care. And then when you do have those meetings, look presentable, dress like, especially if I'm going to meet with a medical professional, I'll wear a really nice outfit. I'll make sure the bag I have my laptop in is really nice. I'll come prepared with my brochures, business cards. I'll have a presentation ready in my laptop to flip up and open. I know the goals and everything I'm wanting to ask them. It just makes you really reputable and shows that you care about what you do, you're professional, and you're dependable. And then ask them about their role, their clients they serve, the population. So how long have you worked here? What's your day-to-day like? What's kind of the flow in this department? What do you like about your job? How'd you get into this? Just kind of get a feel for who they are as a person and see if there's something you can relate on to. Really come with a collaborative approach. Oh, we work with the same patient population, but I can provide this type of support, and maybe you can refer to each other, or just how you can work together and be a team. And then also maintaining rapport with them too. So just consistent communication. If they're making referrals, send a thank you. Hey, I noticed you sent a referral. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. If there's social work month, send something to the social worker to acknowledge that it's social work month. Or maybe you find a little thing, a little small trinket that reminds you of something that they talked about. Send it to them. Just show that you care about them as a person and they're not just a referral source, but you're building a relationship and almost a friendship with them as well. Building referrals. After you do your presentation of services, figure out a system. Ask, okay, who is the best person to make referrals? What would be the best system at this facility? Is it the social worker that's the best person to make referrals? Is it the nurse navigators, the chaplains? And then if it's a certain department, oh, the social workers would be best. Or the nurse navigators, okay, can I present to that team? And then get in front of that team and make sure they know the process, they know how to make a referral, and then have a liaison kind of identified to just check in periodically, how's it going? Collect data on the referrals and also share those with that liaison. I've noticed the referrals are dipping a little bit the past few months. What do you think might be going on? What are some barriers? Or, oh, I see the referrals are increasing. Keep up the great work. This is awesome. Maybe send some TIFS treats or something just to recognize them. Yeah, you can go ahead. We're running low, so we'll speed it up a little bit. Then overcoming barriers. If the referrals are declining, or maybe you did a presentation, it's new and exciting, you get a referral, and then you don't see another referral for several months, but you know that there's families who could use your support. I always ask, I noticed the referrals are dipping a little bit. I'd like to learn a little bit more about what's going on. Is there new staff? Has there been some turnover? Do I need to do another presentation and educate the new people? Is it a time thing? If it's in a hospital, sometimes like I'm just so busy, I forget. So is there a certain person that maybe has more time? One of the locations, the nurse manager, all the nurses will just give the nurse manager the patient name and the nurse manager puts the referral in. Is it an issue of, one of our San Antonio locations, they actually were able to get a little checkbox within the hospital's charting system. And that made it so easy for their staff. They could just check the box and it faxed over a face sheet directly to the office. So brainstorming with them on, what's kind of getting in the way of you making the referrals. Is it just kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing? Let me send you some flyers that you can hang up so you remember. Let me give you some pens to put at the nurse's station. What will help your team remember? What can we do to make it easier for you? Because every system at each location is going to look a little bit different.
Okay.
I'm going to jump in just for a quick second. I know we are winding down to our time. So much to say, right? And so little time. Shani has one more slide that she's going to give. I do have a question that I'm going to ask live, but I just wanted to acknowledge that we know that we are just about at the end.
We have a lot of information. So basically, as we wrap up, you just need to think about that this does take patience. You know, businesses are not going to explode overnight. It takes a lot of time. So just like you have to nurture a plant or a flower and you got to give it a lot of love, it's the same thing with, you know, your organization, your service. So, you look at the established dates on these for all of our organizations, and it takes a lot of time, and we're continuing to learn and grow. So have patience, have the flexibility, reassess yourself, and continue with that drive and that passion that you have.
Great. Thank you so much to both Shani and Jordan. There's a ton of information, and I know they tried to give you as much as they could in this small window of time to hopefully get your wheels turning and thinking about how you can build your business and your practice or your program. I do have a question that I'm going to ask in just a second, but while you guys are logging off and finishing up, we do have the QR code on here for the post-assessment if you need the PDU credit. I did want to let you know that, sorry, I didn't have my camera on. I did want to let you know that we have our topic for our April WonderChat, and it will be on assessment. I know a lot of time people are looking for assessment PDUs, so I have the speakers lined up and we're just working with them about sort of the specific content. So be on the lookout for my Tuesday email, the one that comes the first Tuesday of each month, and that will have more specifics about our April WonderChat. So again, thank you to Jordan and Shani both. But here's the question that Jen had posted earlier. And she wanted to know, Shani, if you could speak a little more about liability insurance and what to look for and the best fit and that part of it.
Sure. So currently right now, I think the only liability insurance that actually has child life specialist as the title is HPSO. That's kind of the one that all us child life specialists are using. There are a few other agencies that child life specialists use for liability insurance. And you just have to think about, you know, within your own state, what are the regulations? Do you need to be an LLC? Do you have to be a sole proprietor? When I relocated here, I went and got my business license within my own county. And I only see families part-time, so my liability insurance is just a part-time and it's a sole proprietor. So you just have to look at what your your state's laws and regulations are. And then, you know, if this is going to be full-time, part-time, are you going to be sole proprietor, an LLC, connecting with another organization? But liability insurance is essential.
Okay, sorry, I was looking to see if there was another question that just came through, but it was someone also validating HPSO. They have that as well. I carry that as well. No claims, thankfully, and agree it is so essential. So thank you for sharing that. What I particularly like about HPSO is that if you are part-time, it gives you that option. So then your fee, your premium fee, you know, is based on that, which has always been a nice piece for that. So thank you all for joining us. I appreciate our attendees, and hopefully we'll see you in April. Thanks again to Shani and Jordan for sharing your expertise in this arena. I know it gave lots of people things to think about. So thank you all and have a great month until we see you again.
Bye. Thank you guys so much.